The 15th century witnessed great events that marked a turning point in history. The fall of Constantinople to the Turks, the rise of the Renaissance, and the arrival of Columbus in America are some of the events that mark the transition from the Middle Ages to the modern era. It is in this context of change, then, that the figure of Gonzalo Fernández de Córdoba, also known as El Gran Capitán, emerges. A military leader who not only stood out as a strategist, but also for his innovative vision of war, as we will see below. Gonzalo Fernández de Córdoba was born on the 1st of September 1453 in the castle of Montilla into an Andalusian noble family, the House of Aguilar. He was related to the Trastamara family, which is why he joined the retinue of Isabella of Trastamara, later known as Isabel la Católica. His loyalty to Isabella soon became apparent. During the War of the Castilian Succession, 1475 to 1479, Fernández de Córdoba began his military career by participating in the Battle of La Albuera on February 24, 1479. His performance in that battle did not go unnoticed, as even the Master of the Order of Santiago himself endorsed the presence of Fernández de Córdoba on the battlefront for the splendor of his armor. However, it was the War of Granada, 1482 to 1492, that was the conflict that boosted his military career. This long war was marked, like other medieval conflicts, by the War of Positions and the War of Attrition. Although as a novelty, it is worth mentioning the significant role that gunpowder and artillery played in this conflict. Under a subordinate command, he stood out for his bravery in various clashes against the Nasrids, being relevant in the capture of several places such as Táhara, Iora, and Montefrio. In Táhara, he demonstrated leadership and siege skills, improvising a cover to protect the advance of the troops to the walls. It is not surprising that his superiors ended up granting him the rare privilege of personally choosing the men who would accompany him in the attacks, as happened in the siege of Iora, 1486. In addition to his military merits, it is also worth mentioning his diplomatic skills during the war, thanks to his mastery of the Arabic language. Thus, Fernández de Córdoba took charge of the negotiations with Sultan Boabdil, which culminated in the surrender of Granada on January 2, 1492. After the war, the Catholic monarchs rewarded Fernández de Córdoba by granting him new lands and the right to exploit some rents. Therefore, his position in the social scale had improved significantly as he enjoyed a growing fortune, a good military reputation, and the favor of the monarchy. Thanks to this new status, the Catholic monarchs entrusted Fernández de Córdoba with their main military campaigns abroad. The first of these would be a succession conflict with France for the succession of Naples, giving rise to the First Italian War, 1494 to 1498. Fernández de Córdoba led the expedition of the Hispanic monarchy, which fought alongside other Italian states that made up the Venetian League. Although he lost the first battle at Seminara, 1495, he won the other battles, such as the Siege of Atella, 1496, and Ostia, 1497. In Atella, the appropriation of the surrounding resources that allowed the defenders to resist until the arrival of reinforcements was decisive, while in Ostia the use of artillery and deception were fundamental to take the stronghold. In any case, the results of his victories determined the withdrawal of the French in Italy, for which the King of Naples rewarded him with titles and lands. But he also received the nickname El Gran Capitán, although this was conferred by his troops amidst praise. El Gran Capitán's fame as a military man attracted the interest of Venice as a support to confront the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans were Venice's main threat and were also the greatest fear among Christians in Western Europe. Therefore, the Venetians sought the support of other Christian leaders, such as the Catholic monarchs, who responded favorably to the call for help. El Gran Capitán assembled his troops and fleet and set out on his march to Cephalonia, the target of his allies. Following his usual pattern, artillery and stealthy strikes were decisive in the success of the siege. The victory of Kefalonia, 1500, boosted morale among the Christians who believed that the Ottomans were invincible. Therefore, the victory over the Ottomans also boosted the reputation of El Gran Capitán. But the most significant campaign in the military career of El Gran Capitán was the War of Naples, 1501 to 1504, where he again confronted the French. On this occasion, El Gran Capitán fought two decisive battles against France, Cerignola, April 1503, and Garigliano, December 1503. Both clashes resulted in more than just a victory, as they marked the beginning of Spanish hegemony on the battlefields thanks to his system of combat. The key to success was, to a large extent, the military reorganization carried out throughout these military campaigns. It brought the infantry to the forefront, which until then had been relegated to a secondary role thanks to the prominence of heavy cavalry. The combination of pikes and arquebuses proved in both battles to be very effective against the French heavy cavalry. He gradually replaced the crossbowmen by arquebusiers, leaving a ratio of 2 arquebusiers for every 10 infantrymen, giving more and more importance to gunpowder. In addition, it counted among its ranks with shield-bearers to counteract the enemy lances, and habitually with lansquenets to decimate the enemy. The cavalry, on the other hand, was relegated to a support role, either to cover the artillery or to protect the flanks of the infantry, and to harass, for example, to decimate the retreating enemy. After the War of Naples, El Gran Capitán never again led any battles personally. He did, however, hold the title of Viceroy of Naples from 1504 to 1507. Although he appeared to be a competent ruler, he fell from his post as a result of his own fame. On the death of Isabella la Católica, his main patron, King Fernando el Católica, began to distrust El Gran Capitán. The Aragonese king believed that Fernández de Córdoba had embezzled funds during the military campaigns and that he intended to use his fame to become King of Naples. El Gran Capitán presented very detailed accounts, but this did not save him from dismissal and his return to Spain. Although Joanna I of Castile granted him the mayoralty of Loja, his relationship with the monarchy was not the same. It even got worse as Fernando el Católico destroyed the castle of Mantilla, which was of great family value. He finally decided to retire to Granada with his family, where he spent his last days until his death on December 2nd, 1515. In short, Gonzalo Fernández de Córdoba, through his valor and actions, earned his nickname El Gran Capitán. His courage, together with his tactical and strategic vision, gave him great notoriety as a military leader. He mastered the concepts of medieval warfare quite well, but it was his innovative vision of warfare that would define him, an innovation that would be channeled mainly into reforms of military organization centered on the mastery of infantry and gunpowder. It was a military revolution for the time, laying the foundation for the famed Spanish Tercios. It could be said that Gran Capitán began the hegemony of the Hispanic monarchy on European battlefields that would last until the mid-17th century. That's it for today, but don't worry, we're just getting started. Thanks for joining this historical ride, and get ready for more fun facts and stories in the next video. See you soon, time travelers.